We have a lot of speakers in the queue, but not everybody is checked in. So we'll go through. I'm going to set the timer for the 20 minutes, and I will read just the public comment statement. Public comment will be limited to a total of 20 minutes at the beginning of the meeting and will continue at the conclusion of the meeting if necessary. Comments are limited to 3 minutes each. Uh, and the mayor may limit this time if reasonable under the circumstances. The city council may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda, except that members of the council or staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by persons exercising public testimony pursuant to the city council's adopted rules. Um, oops, sorry. Members of the public shall direct comments to the body as a whole and not to staff, individual members of the body, or the public. No person shall be permitted to interrupt members of the body, staff presentations, or members of the public who are at the microphone during a meeting. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks about members of the body, staff, or the public, or who shall become boisterous or threatening or personally abusive of the body, staff, or members of the public shall be asked by the mayor, chair to cease and desist such activity and may be requested or required to leave the meeting in the event that the behavior continues to disrupt the meeting proceedings. And with that, we will recognize Isabel Nathia. Johann Struck is not in the meeting, so we'll move on to Alyssa Gomez, followed by Alan Shea. So we'll look for Isabel Nathia.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Isabel Nathia. I use she, her pronouns. Before I go on, I would like to make a land acknowledgement. This meeting is being held on stolen land belonging to the Tongva people. I would also like to acknowledge my solidarity with Anthony Mclean's friends and family. Sir Edwin needs to be prosecuted for his murder, and we need to keep our community safe. I grew up in Pasadena and attended public school here for 9 years. I hope to move back to Pasadena one day. I'm very attached to this community and city. We all know affordable housing is very hard to come by in Pasadena. People want affordable housing, just not in their neighborhood. And people want more housing, just less density. These are antithetical and impossible. Those who would stop new zoning are perpetuating the racist, classist zoning currently in place. I hope we can be a progressive city that will no longer tolerate racism and classism. About 10 churches have said that they want to build affordable housing on their property. New Life Holiness Church on North Fair Oaks is losing members due to gentrification and expensive housing. They want to build 52 units on their property, which would be controlled by a nonprofit, not the church. And all we need to do is pass this new zoning. We need the ordinance to be by right, and we need it now. One of my best friends lives in Pasadena. He graduated from USC, has a full-time job, is kind and brilliant, and is living at home with his parents because he cannot afford to live in Pasadena. So he's leaving our city. I'm sure many of you know about schools and PUSD closing due to families not being able to live here. We need young, creative, empathetic people in Pasadena. So for the sake of our children, our present, and our future, I am calling on City Council to pass a by right ordinance and fix our outdated zoning. Together, we can make affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Alyssa Gomez, followed by Alan Shea, followed by Jane Ward. Ms. Gomez, go ahead.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Alyssa Gomez. I grew up in Pasadena and I would love to live in Pasadena again, but the housing is way too expensive. I currently live in Azusa and work at Pacific Clinic as a mental health therapist. 10 years ago, I became homeless and pregnant, escaping a domestic violence relationship. I was blessed at finding a maternity shelter called Elizabeth House located in Pasadena, where I was able to obtain affordable housing voucher. I was able to afford my rent, working part-time and obtaining my master's in social work at Azusa Pacific University this May to 2021. I support the proposal to rezone church land for affordable housing in Pasadena. The rezoning of church land will provide needed sites for affordable housing across the city. Affordable housing developed needs to have at least 40 to 50 units to be financially feasible. Most church land in Pasadena is not zoned to accommodate that density. So rezoning needs to happen and it needs to be by right so that we can get affordable housing into all parts of the city and not perpetuate racist and classist exclusionary zoning. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you. We'll move on to Alan Shea, followed by Jane Ward, followed by Jasmine Richards Abdullah. Alan, *6 to unmute. There you go. You're good? Go
Okay,
ahead.
go here. Yeah. Hello,
Go ahead.
Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm honored to get through tonight. I'm actually driving right now, so I've been on hold for going on 3 hours getting in. But I want to just respond on the latest decision by the city manager of retiring after last Monday's meeting. And I hope that we can have some firing in place in compliance to AB 392. And hopefully the city council will see the severity of what the community has brought to your attention with the Anthony Mclean murder. Clearly the community sees the egregious act based on the video. And again, we've asked that if the city council does not see it and continue to take the position that he had a gun, then they should at least consider what the community has asked, and that is to review the video in its totality so that we can all see the same thing. There's no need of any further investigation. That is a waste of time. We have a very clear video that will now be used to identify exactly what steps are needed. You have now lost three of the four supporters when Anthony was murdered. That was Mayor Tornick, Steve Mermel, and John Perez has all either been removed from office or have given indication that they will resign. We need to have action taken from the community. They have called on various individuals within the community to take such action, and it has not been done. Again, there should be firing under AB 392 according to the video. The video is sufficient enough to move forward, and we would hope that the city council will now take the appropriate action, because if not,
50 seconds.
The community is ready to make their voice heard during the ballot coming in the next 6 months. So let's hope that they're hearing what the community is saying and take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Johann Strock has come back in, and then Jane Ward, and then Jasmine Richards Abdullah. Mr. Strock?
Yes, hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, my name is Jochen Strack, and I have been a resident in District 3 for 17 years now. I am a nurse practitioner at CHAP Care, and I am a member of the local Quaker meeting. As a nurse practitioner, I served residents at Centennial Place Permanent Supportive Affordable Housing every Thursday afternoon in the big hall there. Many of the people I see do not have the abilities to compete for housing in the free market. Many experience traumatic events. Many suffer from neurotransmitter abnormalities that keep them from normal functioning. I cannot say to them, get a degree and find housing. It just doesn't work for them in the free market. Therefore, for the least of these, I support the proposal to rezone church land for affordable housing in Pasadena. I appreciate that affordable housing developments need to have 40 to 50 units to be financially feasible. Most church land in Pasadena is not zoned to accommodate such density, So I would like to ask you to consider rezoning. And it needs to be by right so that we can get affordable housing into all parts of the city and not perpetuate classist exclusionary zoning. Kindly consider supporting the least of these, the ones that I see. Jesus always helped individual and address systemic problems. If you vote to allow for affordable housing on church properties, you will do both. You will help suffering members of our community, and you will address the vast and growing economic inequality in our Pasadena. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Jane Ward, followed by Jasmine Richards Abdullah, followed by Adriana Batista.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to share that I had the opportunity a few months ago to watch the documentary Thorns on the Rose, Black Abuse, Corruption, and the Pasadena Police, which is a film about the past 40 years of anti-Black violence and corruption in the Pasadena Police Department. I found the film enraging, and it provides incredibly powerful evidence against some of the council members' claims that the Pasadena Police Department does not have a problem with corruption and excessive use of force. Anyone who believes that must watch this film. I'd love to know if and when the council members plan to view this urgent film, and I'd love to know their response. I also would urge the council to do just a quick Google search about the shot spotter. I'm speaking on matters not on the agenda, and this is no longer on the agenda. If you do this, it's going to reveal so much empirical evidence about the failure of this technology, the ways that it has increased racial profiling and false arrests, not to mention just being incredibly ineffective and error-ridden. Its failures are so well documented that this really raises some serious questions about why the city of Pasadena would entertain this expense. Our organization, Surge, would be really happy to provide the council with a list of the scientific journal articles, the news coverage, and the commentary, even from other law enforcement agencies, documenting the failure of the shot spotter, if that would be helpful. I'd also like to know more about the protective order that the city of Pasadena has placed on the evidence in the Anthony Mclean civil case, which prevents his family's attorneys from sharing important information with the public. So I'd like to ask the council to please clarify the nature of the protective order.
45 seconds.
Who and what is it protecting? Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Mayor, I would just simply say to the speaker that they provide the information to the city manager that they have related to shot spotter.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next speaker.
Jasmine Richards Abdullah, followed by Adriana Batista, followed by Marley, who's not checked in, so I'll call out Joelle, Carter Martinez. Jasmine, go ahead.
Hello. I just want to start off by saying I'm overjoyed with joy, and I'm elated with happiness that Steve Vermeil, you will be retiring. We're going to have a party when you leave. We're going to have a whole community block party when you're gone. That's just our ancestors answering our prayers. I also want to tell City Council to release the protective order that they have against the footage, the public information for the footage, the police footage, and also the police reports for the Anthony Mclean murder. We just put in a public release form, so we're gonna know ourselves on the information that you guys are offering to the public. We put that in last week, so hopefully it comes this week sometime. I also want to just keep on echoing to fire Edwin Duma Gwendon to put that on your agenda. So please agendize this for the next meeting. And I give away the rest of my time. Thank you. Bye, Steve.
Adriana Batista, followed by Marley's not here, so Joelle Carter Martinez. Ms. Batista, go ahead. Ms. Batista?
Hello, I'm speaking to say demand drop the charges against Jamon Mclean, Reggie Beasley, Nafisa Kaba, and Jasmine Richards Abdullah, who have all been targeted by Pasadena Police Department and the city prosecutor's office for vocalizing disapproval of PPD's murder of Anthony Mclean. Hire a new city prosecutor who refuses to violate First Amendment rights of Pasadena residents. Agendize the procedures and timelines of PPD investigations. We've heard City Council and Mayor Gordo give a date for the public safety meeting, but it's been mentioned so many times and should still come before City Council, as we are seeing City Council go back on their word too often on too many pressing topics. Keep City Manager's office replacement open and transparent. You had so many meetings about how to select oversight commissioners, only for us to see only 2 council members select those commissioners openly and do open interviews. Thursday, September 30th is the 5th anniversary of J.R. Thomas's murder at the hands of 10 PPD officers. His children witnessed his death and are still living with the loss and severe tragedy of that. Fire officers Duma Gwendon, Sereno, Mulrooney, and Rosa, and keep your promise on releasing the records. Officers responsible for the murder of J.R. Thomas should also be fired. Those officers include Jeffrey Newland, Thomas Butler, Robert Griffith, Michael Orozco,
1 minute.
Poirier, Rafael Santiago, Aguilar Villacana, who spit on him, Corporal Gomez, Sam Huang, and Matthew Griffin and Jeffrey Newland were also involved in the murder of Kendrick McDade. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Joelle Carter Martinez. There's no Marley, right? Joelle Carter Martinez, go ahead.
Hello, my
Hello.
name is Joelle Carter Martinez. I'm a member of Surge Altadena. And as you are aware, on August 15, 2020, while the world was still mourning and demanding justice for George Floyd, a Pasadena police officer fatally shot Anthony Mclean on the back. This happened at La Pintoresca Park, just a few blocks down the road from my house. More than a year later, his family, neighbors, and the community are still waiting for accountability and justice. I recently learned that there is a 2-year statute of limitations to bring the police to justice. So it is urgent to move towards justice by firing the police officers responsible for Anthony Mclean's death. I implore the participants of this call, including every council member, to watch the documentary of Thorns on the Rose, to inform themselves and see a side of Pasadena that is not often portrayed. And more importantly, to start taking real steps towards accountability and justice. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you.
I have a question, clarification from the city attorney. Is there any statute that the council needs to be aware of related to the speaker's comments about a 2-year statute of limitation of any kind?
We would need to look into that. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so please do so, and you can, if you would, city attorney, city prosecutor, report back in your letter each week. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
So the next 2 speakers are not in the meeting, which is Marley and Carolyn Galoni. So we'll move to Evie, and then we'll have time for one other person, which will be Heavenly Hughes. Evie? Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Good evening. For over a year, y'all have done nothing in regards to Anthony McLean's murder, besides harass the community that is still mourning. Steve Marmel has harassed the residents who live in the home where Anthony was murdered, scaring them into taking down the vigil with threats and fines. Marmel is also pressing charges on not just Jasmine, but Nafisa Kaba, Jamal McClain, and Reggie Beasley. Since day one, Jasmine has been advocating for justice for Anthony McLean. From day one, she has been calling for the resignation and prosecution of Edmund McGuindon, Ryan Mulrooney, and Ryan Sereno. And the lack of action by the city council, especially city manager Marmel, is not surprising at this point, but still disgusting. How long, guys? How long does Anthony's family have to wait before you fire these murderous cops? They have clearly violated policies, whether you agree or not. They have broken the law. We demand you fire them and fire Steve Marmel. I yield my time.
We'll bring in Heavenly Hughes. Heavenly, Ms. Hughes? Can you unmute? Ms. Hughes, can you unmute your display? Otherwise, we'll move on to, well, Victor's also after her. Then we can move on to Michael Williams.
Victor
All right.
Heavenly.
We'll move on to Michael Williams. Michael, go ahead and unmute.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I'm calling again to ask that the council, as Steve Marmel goes out and he is leaving his post, he still has a major decision and a major job to do, which is fire the officers that killed Anthony McLean. You as a council should hold him to that fire, that before he leaves, before he takes off into retirement, he should make that decision and he should do the right thing. Don't let him duck out of his responsibility. Don't let him pass the buck. This council and him have been passing the buck ever since Anthony McLean died. They've been passing the buck to the district attorney, been passing the buck off to the chief, been passing the buck off to a bunch of people. It's time for y'all to take your responsibility. This is the city of Pasadena. This young man was a member of the community of Pasadena. He was under your purview. Bringing justice to his family does not lie on the shoulders of anybody else but you. You have the ability to do it, so do it. Hold Steve Marmel accountable. Do not let him just leave out without making that decision. Hold him accountable. Every week I've come and I've asked you all to do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because you're being pressured or threatened or asked to resign or anything like that. I've called you to do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. So do it. This is not about politics.
40 seconds.
This is not about different ideas or this is just the right thing to do, is give Anthony McLean and his family the justice that they deserve. Make the city of Pasadena and our community, the Black community here in Pasadena, whole again. Because you've denied us that for years, for almost decades. Do your jobs, take your responsibility as custodians of Pasadena, hold Steve Mermell responsible, and fire those officers.
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Let's try Ms. Hughes one more time.
Sure. Ms. Hughes, are you able to unmute? There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Victor Gordo. Thank you, Pasadena City Council. I implore you to say his name, Anthony McLean. Say his name, Anthony McLean. Say his name, Anthony McLean. That's what you've heard for a year now. Asking you to say his name, asking you to value his Black life and bring justice demanded by the community. I'm gonna say it again. Say his name, Anthony McLean. Say it in the morning when you wake up. Say it to one another at your tables. Say it when you're walking down the street of Pasadena, where he bled out and died after being shot in the back twice. I urge you also to watch Thorns on the Road. It's all about corruption, Black abuse, and cover up. So we want you to watch what's happening in your city. Fire the officers involved. Fire the officers involved. Fire the officers involved with the cover-up and murder of Anthony McLean. I'm gonna repeat it to you again. Fire the officers involved with the murder and cover-up of Anthony McLean. Starting with Chief Perez. If he is allowing for such unlawful fatal death to take and snatch the lives of Black men in Pasadena, fire Chief Perez.
1 minute.
Fire. I'm sorry, I'm still talking. Fire the officers and everyone sitting here, sitting around that's involved with the cover-up and murder of Chief Perez. And yes, we have already looked it up. There is 2 years for there to be disciplinary action in the case of Anthony McLean. It's already been a year. Y'all done gave the officers a whole year to lollygag and play around. Now it's time to take action. Steve Mermell, I ask you to call the DA. Mayor Victor Gordo, I ask you to call the DA week after week because the community wants to know. Again, lift the protective order. What are you hiding? Lift the protective order and let the community know exactly what is going on and why you guys are planting guns.
Ms. Hughes, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Mayor Victor Gordo, thank you.
Okay, that completes our time for public comment.
For the initial 20 minutes.
And we'll move on to the agenda and
Mayor?
the city's business.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a quick question just to follow up on a public comment speaker's question about the 2-year about 2 years. So an officer has basically the police department basically has 2 years to render something for I forget the word, for any disciplinary, I can't even say the word right now.
Disciplinary.
Yes, thank you. Actions. Is that correct? Because I believe that is correct, and that's the reason why I keep on asking for.
We're going to look.
About.
We're going to look at statutes, but typically, if there's a 1-year statute of limitations from the time that any action occurred that could give the rise to discipline, but that is stayed. But I'll let the city attorney write that up in her memo. It's typically stayed when there is a criminal investigation or other type of litigation. But we'll get back to you.
Well, in the case that
City.
wasn't stayed for Christopher Blue in that matter, from my understanding,
Yeah.
was given
We,
the information that was given me.
we've asked the city attorney to advise us on it. So we'll look at it
I would like that because is the city attorney, is she going to advise us on that today or later?
later. She'll write it in a
That's
memo,
fair.
in a memo to the council when she
So
looks at it.
once again, if that memo comes back and there is a month, 24 months or 12 months, that's more so the reason why we should have a policy that says that we need to complete any personnel matters within a timely fashion so that the city can make I can't say the word again, actions related to the employment of the officer or employment of any employee. Once again, it has been a year and we've got to hold people accountable. I mean, I don't think you have to see thorns on a rose. Not necessarily, I'm just saying it's a great video. I did actually see it myself. To see what happened to Anthony McClain is wrong. To see that he got shot in the back twice, that's public information. These videos aren't doctored. It's a video that the city has released. It is the body worn camera and the videos that are coming from our public cars, our police cars. So that video is out there. He was running at top speed away. I just don't understand why there's been no action whatsoever, no accountability. And that breeds a lack of distrust. So thank you. I'm glad that the conversation is coming forward. It's taking way too long. People need to heal. We need to understand exactly what's going on. And at this pace, you're just going to get more and more people that have a distrust in not just policing, but government as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton.
Mayor, I'd just like to ask one quick question. About a year ago, I asked the city manager on the record in open session to make sure that all video, audio of the shooting be released and placed in the public domain. And the answer was that that has occurred. Is that still the position of the city manager?
Councilmember Kennedy, the video was released and then, maybe about a month or 2 months ago, we took down all the videos and that was communicated. They are still available upon public request. And my understanding is we currently have some public requests pending.
My question, Mayor, is that the question that I asked almost a year ago was to ensure that every piece of video that we had related to the death of Anthony McClain and audio be released into the public domain. So is it your answer tonight the same as you gave previously, that information is in the public domain, period?
Councilmember Kennedy, I represent tonight, as I represented previously, that the city released the videos that it had. They were posted, available on our website, both the raw video and a narrated video to provide context. As I indicated a moment ago, those were subsequently removed, but they're available upon request.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramel.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to the city's business, starting with consent calendar, and I will accept a sweet motion.
And Mayor, if I may, one quick correction on item 9, which is an
yes.
amendment to the general fee schedule. We had requested just a change in the name, not in the dollar amount, of fee number 476. And we're actually asking that nothing happen related to that fee. So I would ask that that one particular item be withdrawn from consideration. We would leave the name of the fee as it has been.
Okay. With that amendment, is there a
Mayor, I
motion?
move approval.
And that,
With the recommendation that the city manager just shared, and any council member that has one of the matters or more to be removed from consent.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll second Mr. Kennedy's motion.
Okay.
and Mayor, that motion includes accept item number 11, which has been removed from the agenda and will reappear on the agenda next week in the public comment speaker cards that we have. We've taken note of who they are, and we will contact them to make sure that they have the opportunity to speak when the item comes back to the council.
It's been moved and seconded. Before we take action, Councilmember Rivas had a brief statement.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 involves a contract with the county, so I have to, again, just briefly disclose, I am employed by the county. I work for the Office of the County Council. However, I have not and I will not have any role in the contracting process on the county side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And with that, why don't we take the roll on the consent calendar?
For all items except for item number 11, Councilmember Hampton,
Yes, disciplinary.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Madison,
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gordo.
Yes.
Motion is approved without opposition.
Okay, next we'll move on to item 14, and